You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
See how we loaded in? We're back, baby. We're back.
He's just slick. He's so slick.
I love it when you're presenting the show, right? Because I can do it in exactly the order.
Releases us to the people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from this beautiful world of ours. Welcome to Three's a Crowd podcast, the show where we cover Newcastle United, Middlesbrough, and Sunderland. That's right. Three enemies brought together for a bit of banter, bit of laughs, bit of fun. And we always do it here on a Saturday. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to check out NUFC Matters for your Newcastle stuff, at Ted the Mackham for anything related to Sunderland. And if you're top of the table like Middlesbrough, get in. At Inrictus, come on down. It's so good to see you all. I hope you're fantastic. Happy Saturday. I hope you've started off with a nice crumpet. Hey, nice cup of tea. Steve's been to the gym. Ted's at work, so we've got to get on with it. We've got to get on with it. I hope you're fantastic. We've got Middlesbrough to focus on. They are playing Norwich today away. We've got Sunderland taking on Burnley, and we all saw that last week's game didn't really count because Chelsea absolutely demolished West Ham. So last week, anyone could have beaten West Ham by the looks of it. So, and then we've got to talk about the biggest game. I think it's just become something so eccentric because of the media and everything like that. But Newcastle taking on Liverpool on Monday. It's going to be an incredible podcast. Thank you for joining us. Let's get into it straight away. Middlesbrough will be kicking off against Norwich City and Robert Edwards' Red and White Army. Can you believe it? Top of the table. Goal difference doesn't matter, so we're second on that. But top of the table. I can't believe it. Rob Edwards is maybe the manager that we didn't want, but we kind of needed. He has gelled the community. He has gelled the team. He has brought in some amazing signings, especially in the last week, signing Nijpen from Sevilla, Napan. Yeah, that's right, Norwegian. From Man City on loan, one of the best. For those who play FIFA and Football Manager, you'll know him. He's an absolute talent. And we've just got an absolute roll of confidence. Now, we forget about the Carabao Cup where we lost 4-0 to Doncaster. That doesn't really count. Nobody really counts the cups these days. I mean, Carabao Cup as well, especially. So it's not important, all right? But what is important...
You're still counting the one you won 20-odd years ago, but yeah, well, carry on. No.
Exactly. 20 years ago, it mattered. And that's when it stopped. Middlesbrough are going away to Carrow Road, Elton John's finest in Norwich City today to see if they can continue on their beautiful run. It is 2 wins from 2 in the league, and can the train be stopped? Well, Norwich City have got a brand new manager in Liam Manning, stealing him from Bristol City, and they have absolutely splashed the cash. Now, I know you two Premier League boys won't know much about the Championship. All right, that's the better league. So what happens is, like, when you guys, when you suck so much, you have to come down to our good league. Do you know what I mean? That's how I see it anyway. And we've got Norwich City today, a team that you all might be familiar with. Teddy boy, I'll start with you, mate. One, can you describe to me how happy you are to see Middlesbrough at the top of the table, how amazingly infatuated you are with Rob Edwards as our gaffer, and thirdly, how good are we as a club compared to Sunderland?
Sorry about the big gap. I can say that to both of you at the minute. That's amazing. I've waited years for this.
This is going to be such a different podcast this year. The gloves are off already, and we haven't even played.
Hey, now, come on. I actually tuned into your podcast last night, Steve, and asked a question, and I was perfectly respectful to the Geordie Nation.
He's never respectable to me.
I'm still trying to work out the connection between Norwich and Elton John, but we'll come to that later, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you meant Watford, mate. Watford is the one that was... Yeah, Delia Smith used to own Norwich City. I don't know whether she's still involved, or whether she's...
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's Watford.
Listen, I have actually been pleasantly surprised. Obviously, I had a good laugh about the Doncaster result, and it didn't look good, let's be honest. But other than that... This whole hoofball idea seems to have been put to rest. He does actually want to play some decent football, and he's made a cracking start. We said at the end of last season, Middlesbrough had the end of the season that we had the year previous. The horrible time under Michael Beale, then Dodd's taken over, and it just went horribly wrong, and it was a horrible end to the season. And like I said, there was parallels there to be drawn. But you've had the start that we had under Regis Labrise, where you look like winning games breeds confidence. It's as simple as that. We'll come on to Sunderland, obviously, but like you can tell by the way that we'll come to Sunderland, but they won the first game of the season, and that's such a boost in confidence. And the same's happened with Borough. The only thing I want to draw your attention to, and you still haven't answered it, is Steve. I laid down a bit of a challenge to Rye in that if Middlesbrough got promoted, I would get the Adelaide Crows badge tattooed on my arse.
Minor premise.
And if Sunderland stay up, I laid down the challenge to Rye that he would have to get the Anorthosis Famagusta, which is my local team in Cyprus. He would have to get their badge tattooed on his arse. And do you know what, mate? I never had Rye down as a bottler, and he's not even replied on X. Not even replied to it. He's actually trying to just brush it under the carpet. But
left him on red.
I don't know how many people we've got tuned in right now, but I'm laying down the challenge, Rye. Let's have it, baby.
I've got to be perfectly honest. I mean, he might have had it done because there's not many people who will have access to Rye's backside.
Exactly.
Well, God, no.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
I was going to say that opens a back door to many problems. Yeah.
Comes up with any other famous ideas. Obviously, Steve, Michael Carrick gone, Rob Edwards in. I tell you, we had a podcast just shortly after that happened, and I was shocked because we all thought Michael Carrick was going to be a successful manager. Now, it turns out he's not going to be a successful manager at the Borough, but what we have seen now in Rob Edwards is a new breath of fresh air, whether it was the right timing, whatever it was, but the confidence and the passion that Rob Edwards has brought to this fan base is second to none. He goes around the whole stadium after the game, clapping the fans. He says how fans are on this journey with me. He has brought this fan base back from the depths of hell in which Michael Carrick, at the end of that last season, we were feeling. We were all down in the dumps. We were bored, we were frustrated, and we were angry. And I tell you what, 2 games in, Stevie boy, it's a completely different look.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Carabao Cup result was a bit of a shock. Pre-season wasn't great for Newcastle, wasn't great for Middlesbrough, I don't think either, but you went through a bit of a, thinking of a political reference, you went through a bit of a John Major period, didn't you? A bit of a grey peas kind of period with Carrick at the end there. Like he was literally going down the pan and very quickly, and he'd lost the confidence of the fans. Clearly, the owner gave him probably too long. And we spoke about it on the podcast last year quite a lot. That, had he lost the dressing room, was he not able to get the players motivated? But on the flip side, we also pointed the fact that he was constantly having to sell his best players. Every transfer window came, you were letting players go, which is a pity. For the Middlesbrough support, the Middlesbrough fans. But look, a new manager does bring new impetus. It does bring new ideas. It does bring a bounce. And at the moment, it's early days, but Middlesbrough are, where you want them to be. You want them to be challenging for promotion. And let's not forget, Michael Carrick, although it was a bad season last season, Sunderland coming up, you didn't come up. You were still there or thereabouts for part of the season. It's such a relentless division, though. And 1 or 2 results, unfortunately, the Championship don't make the season for you. You've got to have that consistency over so many games, and it's going to be a long haul. It's going to be another battle. It's going to be another struggle. The beauty, I guess, in the Championship is that if you do fall short, if you do have a little bit of a bad run, you've still got that, you've still got an opportunity to really get, a run towards the end of the season and get in the playoffs, which is what Sunderland did. They took their chances, and they were horrendous in the back end of the season. You'd like to think that the man whose name sounds like that Rick Petit song just got it right. He went for that whole, like, we'll just con everybody into thinking we're absolutely naff, and then when we turn over the playoffs, we'll obliterate people, and they did, and that's what Sunderland did. You're getting Matt Targett potentially.
Yes. I was going to ask you about that.
Matt Targett's a great player. He can still do a job in the Premier League.
So good, you left him behind, didn't you?
He's out of favour with that. How can you get past the players?
You can't. Livramento in front of him. You know what I mean? Like
Lewis Hall,
Lewis Hall,
Emil Kraft.
Dan Byrne does a job for you on the left back as well, right? So
Matt Targett, for me, when Newcastle United stayed up in the Premier League, was every bit as important as Kieran Trippier. For me, that's a great signing by Borough. And you get him on loan if he comes to Borough. And I don't think he'll want the upset of moving house and this, that, and the other. And it makes sense. It makes sense. I hope he goes to Borough. I hope you get him. And I tell you what, he'll do a cracking job for you. And I think he'll become a little bit of a cult hero. And I would be very surprised if he manages to stay injury-free, that he doesn't have that opportunity to, maybe sign a permanent contract with Middlesbrough. But that's a great thing. But yeah, that little post by Frank Chipper on Twitter where he made out that he'd been left behind was brilliant. And it just shows you how thick some of the media are, that they picked up on that and ran it as a story. He was never.
It was a funny story. But yes, obviously, if you are just tuning in the past 24 hours, Middlesbrough have been linked to Matt Targett. Obviously, Newcastle's out of favour left back, as we have turned our attention to him as our main target. Budum ching, see what I did there? Middlesbrough have been unsuccessful to lure Max Arfston from Columbus Crew in the MLS. The thoughts are that he's out of contract in 12 months' time, and Middlesbrough might revisit that. But we have turned our attention now to David Strelic, our striker, main target, who's going to cost in excess, they think, around the £8 million signing. So how have we got money for a left back? Well, we haven't. We've turned to the loan market, and Matt Targett has become the key in now. Middlesbrough are buoyed by the return of Sammy Silvera, the Aussie, who has been absolutely fantastic, a player renewed under Rob Edwards. He is normally a left midfielder, has filled in at that left wing back role. Middlesbrough now opting for a left wing back in Sammy Silvera and Callum Britton on the right wing backs. And now Matt Targett can come in and be the backup. And we've seen what experience can do. Alfie Jones coming in at the age of 27, Callum Britton coming at the age of 27. Now Matt Targett at the age of 29. It's a very experienced defensive lineup that Rob Edwards is going for. And I think it's going to be an astute signing. Plus, in the loan market, it allows us to free up that transfer fee to go in for a striker. Just quickly, Teddy boy, before we move on to your mob, Matt Targett, mate, left wing back. Middlesbrough are deploying this 5 at the back system. What do you see a team that plays 5 at the back? Do you see that as a winning combination, being a championship experience? Do you like 5 at the back when you come up against those teams, or do you think it is as more of a liability?
Well, as a FIFA aficionado, I used to play 5 at the back all the time, actually. So I do like it. I think it's got its place. To be honest, I can kind of see us adopting that a little bit, maybe in a different kind of way. 5 at the back doesn't necessarily mean it's defensive. That's the key thing here. Yeah. It's essentially playing a 3-man defense at times when you're in possession of the ball.
Correct.
You can flood midfield, and it can actually be very effective. It's got to be played right. You've got to have absolute workhorses as wing backs as well, because out of possession, they've got to be defence minded as quickly as possible. So it's an interesting one. Like I say, I can see us maybe developing that, because we're signing defenders left, right, and centre, and we're going to be able to play them somehow. But yeah, listen, right now, Middlesbrough don't need to change a lot. And I think it's other championship teams that need to worry about Middlesbrough right now.
Yeah,
I think honestly, I really do. I've been very, very impressed with the league form. They look solid, they look organised, and that's half the battle. If they're organised and keep their discipline about them, and you could kind of see with Carrick, and I still think there's a good coach in Carrick somewhere, but you could see with Carrick, they're kind of like the word committed to the game plan.
I completely agree.
And I think with whatever Rob Edwards is telling them in training, it's whether it's just more understandable, whether it's clearer to them, whether it's a simpler plan, I don't know. But they're just much more conviction about them this time around, and it's going to be consistency that wins out. And if you get that and starting, knock a few wins together just before this international break that nobody wants, I think you're in a very, very strong position, mate.
Yeah, I do too. And I think it's a fantastic effort. And what a turnaround it's been under Rob Edwards. We will see as Middlesbrough take on Norwich City away today. On to the Mighty Mackems in the Premier League, a return since 2017. They are off to a flying start, defeating a team that anyone can beat on their day, West Ham United, in a 3-0 victory. But Ted, it was incredible scenes. Obviously, the return to the Premier League, a full stadium alight, mate. A team that was sprouting, I think, was it 3 or two names only from that playoff final. I mean, a team that's been completely revamped. I mean, you've been the most active in the transfer window from any club I've seen. Fabrizio's been on your doorstep because he's had a here we go prepared every day, mate. I mean, it's a completely brand new team that Regis is working with. He's also got brand new coaching staff around him. I mean, you had a new goalkeeper. Everything just seemed to be brand new, and you got off to a 3-0 start against West Ham, mate. One, what was the feeling like on the return to the Premier League? And two, can you sum up that victory against West Ham?
Well, I mean, we're still all in a state of shock, if I'm honest with you. I mean, the amount that's been spent, there was 8 players made their debut for Sunderland in that game against West Ham. It's the most debuts we've ever fielded in the club's history. And what was amazing about it is the look gelled. It was absolutely just mind-blowing how well they played together. But in the last show we did at the end of last season, we talked about who I'm looking forward to seeing playing in the Premier League, and I did say Dan Ballard was one of them, and he just looks like he's able to step up. Again, I'm going to use the C word, not that one. Consistency. No. And Dan Ballard's now got to deliver what he did against Coventry, against Sheffield United in the final, and against West Ham. What he did, he was an absolute colossus. He was man of the match for me. He was absolutely terrific. The players who they've brought in, there's not one of them disappointed. The midfield three against West Ham were just incredible. They covered over 30 kilometres combined as a midfield three, and that's just incredible. But it's intelligent running. You can't just have them running around like headless chickens. It was a busy midfield, and look, Siddiqui at 15 million looks an absolute steal. He just covered everything. He was all over the pitch, and I was just so impressed again with sticking to the plan. It was we got out of a couple of tight spots. Roofs pulled off some fantastic saves. What an addition he's going to be! Because even in pre-season, getting the ball and playing out as a goalkeeper, picking passes out like 30-yard passes into the channels, and I'm thinking that's the next level, and that's what I'm sorry to say Patterson can't deliver. He's a very, very good shot stopper, Patterson, but he can't deliver that with his footwork. Whereas Roofs just looked so confident, and he dominates his box. He's very vocal as well, and I think it's massively important that you have a keeper that does that. You can't have a quiet keeper. I think back to the likes of Schmeichel, who are in their faces and giving them what for. Cernacek was another one, Steve, at Newcastle, who was never quiet. He barked instructions at his defenders in front of him. And that's what you need. You need presence there. And I've been so impressed with him right across the pitch, to be honest. It was just a brilliant game. I mean, I was delighted I had the dad-in-law over. He was over on holiday with us, sitting there. So I'm trying to rein it in a little bit and behave myself and not be me normal self watching the match, which is, the air can get a little bit blue. But, listen, I was absolutely delighted. To top it off, you get a win like that against West Ham. Let's be honest, West Ham do look like they might be in trouble. But those games are still there to be won. There were three very, very pleasing goals to watch. I thought the Ballard header, he took that like a prime, dare I say it, Alan Shearer with the header. Like, it was absolutely incredible. I should say Niall Quinn. There we go. That'll be better. It'd be fine once we edit this. No, listen, Mayenda getting on the score sheet as well. Very, very important that lad gets a confidence boost, because he didn't have the best of pre-seasons. He was a little bit wasteful of chances, but taking the first real one he got in the Premier League, that's what it's all about. And he scored a great one. And then obviously Wilson Isidore coming on in the second half and basically copying the same goal as what he scored against Coventry City in the playoffs. Very, very well taken goals. But listen, we've got to beat the West Hams of this world. We're not going to beat the top 6 teams regularly. Well, slightly more. Sorry, I'll say I was slightly less apprehensive about the 13th of December than what I was. But
I can't wait for the pre-Christmas dinner with the
I wondered how long it would take. Yes, I was a bit worried when I saw the black shirt coming out for the third kit. I'm thinking, oh God, if there's any white on that.
I know.
Thank God there isn't.
Neat kit.
Oh, it's beautiful. I haven't run
Yeah.
out and got this one. Well, I think Mrs. Ted would absolutely go wild at me if I spent another 70 quid. But there you go. Yeah, listen, we've got to put this
Incredible
game
start.
today against Burnley is a big game. It's I'm not here to sort of do a David Moyes, but it's a relegation 6-pointer. And it's very, very early in the season. If we can get a result against Burnley, then I'm happy taking a draw away at Turf Moor. Just early in the season, they're going to want to bounce back. It's their first home game of the season. They got soundly beaten by Spurs. Who let's be honest, they didn't even get out of second gear.
No.
So it's going to be a battle today. It's going to be a different kind of game than what we had against West Ham. But then you look forward from that. You've got Brentford before the international break. You pull a result off against Burnley. Draw your away games. Get Brentford back at home. Who, let's be honest, they were absolutely awful. They were truly awful in their first game. And I can't. It's like a race between Graham Potter and Keith Andrews just to see who's going to get sacked before Halloween. Listen, we could be going into the international break on 7 points if we play our cards right. Anything more than that's a huge bonus. But if you take 7 points out your first 3 games, you're a good.
Yeah,
we're almost halfway in what we got relegated under Mick McCarthy.
It's incredible, isn't it, Steve? I mean, Steve, if I had been sitting here a month ago, mate, and said, hey, Sunderland are coming to the Premier League, they're going to spend more than you in the transfer window, and after the first game, they're also going to be above you on the table, which must just sit so amazingly well with you, Steve. I mean, how have you taken to Sunderland's return to the Premier League? Obviously, we've only seen them once in the outing against West Ham, but I tell you what, their transfer window has been absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal transfer window. You've got to take your hat off to Kirill, who's got a bit of criticism down the road from his own fans. But from everything that I've heard, the guy's gone over and beyond. He's monitored and done all the transfer dealings himself. He's gone to the point of actually going to the airport and picking the guys up, meeting them, greeting them, telling them all about Sunderland. I mean, that's the kind of ownership you need. But the money that they've spent is the money that they've earned, by being promoted. And they've gone down the Forest route, where they have decided we are going, for want of a better expression, shit or bust. And, that's what they've done. And, look, one result doesn't make a season. I said that about Middlesbrough, and I'll say it about Sunderland, and I'll say it about Newcastle. And I know you guys are fully aware of that. But it was a great result. 3 goals, no goals conceded. And as Ted says, if they can get, another 4 points out of these next 2 games, 7 points out of your first 3, back in the Premier League, it's looking good. But there's a long way to go in the Premier League as well. Bigger tests for Sunderland, but you need to get the points in the bag against those teams that you think are going to be there or thereabouts at the bottom of the league. I am impressed. I think that they've bought well. Newcastle, our business isn't done in the Premier League transfer window at the moment. We know that we've got this big elephant in the room, which is Alexander Isak to sort out. If he goes,
what's happening there?
No, I
Newcastle will certainly spend some more money in the transfer window. I'll be surprised if we don't spend slightly more than Sunderland in this window. But listen, Sunderland have done well. It's great to have them back. And for me, I hadn't given it much thought until that first weekend of the season, and then it suddenly sunk in when the text message came from Ted, and I was like, usually my messages come from Melly, on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday. It was good because, I'll tell you a little quick story before we do the tweet of the week, the troll of the week. I got the message from a couple of people, Newcastle fans, and then when I saw that Sunderland had won and I realised that they were top of the table, I decided to message Ted before he messaged me with Mind the Gap. So he was gutted. He
took it out.
He was
took it out of his hands.
But then on top of that, Melly, of course, our resident Man United fan who often pops on, because they got beat off Arsenal, it gave me the opportunity to get the first Mind the Gap in with him as well. So I had a double win last weekend. But Melly, this'll please you, no enter. Melly's response was, yes, I was going to say the same. Your little northeast rivals are above you. Mind the gap. And I thought, wow, how far has Melly and Man United fallen when they've got to use Sunderland? They've got to use Sunderland as a bounce back. So, hey, good stuff, man.
Well, you talk about weird flexes. You talk about weird flexes. I sent you the message, didn't I, of Jermaine Pennant.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, I had. So I had a little run-in with Jermaine Pennant on on Instagram of all places.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what was it? It said in a pre-season show or a pre-Saturday show. He was on with Jermaine Jenis, the two Jermaines, and it said to Jermaine Jenis, and this is a 42-year-old bloke here. Sunderland would lose because they're poo-poo. A 42-year-old man said that, next footballer. And obviously, we'd beaten West Ham by this point. I'd reached out and said, this aged as well as Pennant's career. To which Jermaine Pennant replies, didn't go too bad. Champions League final, FA Cup final, played for my boyhood club, which I thought was the weirdest flex ever, that he's used 2 games where he got beat as the highlight of his career. So I pointed out that we, as in me and Jermaine Pennant, while I was obviously understandably not as good a player, we both got carried by better players. We both won the same amount of FA Cups. We both won the same amount of Champions League. The only difference between me and him was that I'd never played with an electronic tag and not been done twice for drunk driving.
Oh,
And he didn't reply.
No, I wonder why. Jermaine, if you're listening, by the way, always welcome on the show to sort this out with Teddy the Mackham. I can give you his address privately as well if you need to. Steve, it is time for everyone's favourite. It is time for Troll of the Week.
we've got a lot because obviously we haven't been on for a few weeks since the last show. We've got some fan mail, lads. We've got some fan mail. Two bits of fan mail. The first one was from this guy, Fred Holmes. What's Middlesbrough doing there?
This guy.
Football podcast.
This guy.
Fred Holmes.
This guy.
His brother's John. And this one from RHSAFC. He says, SAFC fan, yeah. First time I've seen this channel. I must say it's refreshing to see fans and YouTubers from all 3 Northeast clubs being amicable on the same stream. If you had told me about this or given me the idea as a concept, I'd have been skeptical. I think, nice idea, but not feasible. Well done, chaps. Good work. So that's very nice. Thank
you.
What did I send Melly this week? I sent them this. What is your favourite position? 15. Yes, I do me fair bit of trolling in the WhatsApp group to Melly. And we are very bitter at Newcastle about certain things that have gone on in the transfer window. This is basically how it's felt all window. Exactly. And with the start of the new football season comes the official ceremony, lads. What official ceremony am I talking about? Of course, it's the official handing over of the remote start of the Premier League season. Brilliant stuff. Good to capture a photo there. And talking about
that's a sore subject in my house right now.
Talking about transfer windows, Chris McMenemy put this in. Getting rid of Bamford, who's on big wages, always injured and hasn't scored properly since 2021 for Calvert Lewin, who's on big wages, always injured and hasn't scored properly since 2021. Interesting.
So true.
Like that. Yeah, exactly. Matt Target promised his partner he'd do the baby celebration when he next scores. His son turns 8 tomorrow.
On your power, lad.
Exactly. And Newcastle fans do have a sense of humour. Save someone. Yeah, that was a few weeks ago, of course. Newcastle have indeed signed a few players. Manchester United, of course, have reached an agreement with Benjamin Sesko to ruin his promising career under 2 years. And a few others beside. And a good pal of mine, James, said it's not been the best pre-season so far for Newcastle, but I'm delighted to break this incredible announcement of the signing of Hong Kong international. Oh, whitey man! All bets are up for the next Premier League champions. Brilliant, James. I did like that. The viewing is slightly outdated because we've had a backlog. And breaking news, Alexander Isak now wants to join Crystal Palace. Very good. I love AI. And breaking, Benjamin Sesko having a medical to check his brain after he said that he wanted to join Man United. And I thought he had a hat on, says Jay. Most bizarre bald spot I've ever seen. That's mental, isn't it?
I thought he's got a hat.
It is the guy's head. Delivered again. It's home. I did like that. Very clever. After the women won the Euros trophy. And no context. Sorted.
My gosh.
A man who trained his dog to play the trumpet on the London Underground said he went from barking to tooting in just over an hour.
Oh, God.
And so last night, Will Sutton scored against Sutton. I was wondering if this has ever happened before. Did James Chester ever score against Chester? Did Dwight York ever score against York? Did Stephen Kuntz ever score against Liverpool?
No.
Who knows?
Oh, no.
And breaking Granite Xhaka sent off during Sunderland medical. That was funny by Paddy Power.
Yellow.
I love that.
Yellow.
And Reggie asked the missus what she wanted for Valentine. She said, give you a clue, ex-England goalie. She's expecting flowers. She's getting semen. And Paddy Power as well. Granit Xhaka informs Bayer Leverkusen only wants to join Sunderland. Has to be false. No player in the history of Sunderland football has ever said they only want to join Sunderland. How wrong were they? Last two, transfer sector. Breaking, Neom FC have decided to move forward with Johan Wissa. Saudis are confident of finalising the deal quickly, reports Lequip. Dan says, we're going to get outbid to Wissa by a club that sounds like a car going past. The winner this week was this one though. Missing football so much I've turned my front room into Everton away. If you've sat in that seat, you'll understand it.
You will.
Please get your tweets over to us. If you've got the lads' details, please send it to them, or you can send it to me at my email address that we use for the show, nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. And we will feature the cat on the show next week. Back to you, Brian.
They were good. The Northeast Football Podcast, Three's a Crowd. We have got Ted the Mackham representing Sunderland, Steve Wraith representing Newcastle, and me right from the Borough. We have spoken about Middlesbrough. We've spoken about Sunderland. It's time to come on to some Newcastle news. I mean, there hasn't been much, Stevie Wraith. I'd say it's been quiet. Yeah. Steve and I have and Ted have been in a WhatsApp. We talk a little bit about a certain striker that you've had a little bit of an issue with, but lo and behold, second game of the season, and you have to play Liverpool. It's going to be a very, very interesting game. I would argue that it is probably the one to watch for every neutral fan, just to see how this one plays out. Obviously, if you are under a rock or you've just joined us from your summer holiday, Alexander Isak has been the talk of the town for Newcastle, wanting a move to Liverpool ever since pretty much the doors closed on last season's. And look, it's been back and forth. It's been waiting for Liverpool to come up with the right offer. It's been Newcastle trying to find another striker. Obviously, they have been linked with the likes of João Pedro. They've been linked with Sesko, who just went to Man United as well. But lo and behold, they haven't been able to find a replacement for Isak, and Isak is still at the club. Last week was Wilson, correct. Last week, we saw that there were talks between Eddie Howe and Alexander Isak, which was hoped to kind of try and bridge that gap, maybe bring him back into the fold, but it doesn't look like it's been successful. Alexander Isak then going on Instagram saying that it is irreparable at the moment. Steve, let's kick it off with, unfortunately, that elephant in the room, Alexander Isak, mate. Where do you, now forget about everything that's been said, where do you personally sit? I mean, Alexander Isak has been a phenomenal striker for Newcastle United. Are you on the back of wanting to welcome him back in as a fan, or would you like to see the back door closed on his backside?
There's no doubt about it that Alexander Isak is a world-class striker, but his attitude stinks. And for me, at the moment, I think it's gone too far. I don't see how he can be reintegrated back into the team. But football fans are fickle. If he doesn't get the move that he wants, and he's still here on September the 2nd, he's going to have to be reintegrated. He's got a World Cup to consider. and he's going to want to play football, and he's going to have to get knuckled down and play until January. But Newcastle could bring 2 strikers in before the 2nd of September, and he could find himself frozen out because of his attitude and the way that he's gone on. Anyhow, played it with a straight bat yesterday. He did admit, though, and I thought it was rather damning, that he'd had discussions with Isak before the end of last season about this. He couldn't deny it. So that means that Newcastle fans who are looking and saying, did he really put his effort in them last few games? Was he trying to help Newcastle fail getting into the Champions League so that it would make him making a move easier? I mean, it's all just allegations and rumours and subterfuge, but ultimately Newcastle fans are disappointed at the moment because he's our striker. We thought he was committed, and it just shows you can't take some people at face value when he was standing on the parade stage, speaking Geordie and, milking the situation. Yes, there's 2 sides of the story. It's clear that probably he has been promised something, but anybody in any job, if you are promised a pay rise, then you don't start getting excited about it until you see it in writing. And if it's in writing and it's in your contract, then you're going to get it. If it's not in writing and someone's just gone, oh yeah, if you keep playing the way you're playing, we'll give you a pay rise. I mean, are you stupid? And it's down to his agent or it's not actually an agent, it's an advisor. He's not got the paperwork to be an agent, this guy. So I think a lot of it is around him. Listening to Eddie, you get the impression that the conversation that they had last week in passing was polite and Alex just being Alex. But from our perspective, he's our player. He's our player for the next 3 years. I have said on NUFC Matters for the last few weeks, me and the lads have constantly said, we think there's bigger picture here. I don't think the relationship between Liverpool's owners and Newcastle owners is positive. They do business in other fields and in other sports, and there's been disagreements and fallouts. And I think a lot of it's got to do with that. I think there's been a deliberate ploy to unsettle Newcastle because we dared to win a trophy last season. I don't think that's paranoia. I don't think the Big Six were happy that Newcastle managed to win a trophy despite all the restrictions. And I just generally think that we will be in a position where, we will have to face this kind of situation time and time again. Our entire summer could have been completely decimated and ruined by the lack of a sporting director and CEO, but it hasn't been. We needed a goalkeeper. We needed to get rid of goalkeepers. We've done that. We needed a centre-half, a right-sided centre-half to come in and, strengthen the squad. We've done that. We needed a right winger. We've signed the 3rd best right winger in the league behind Jacob Murphy, who we already have, and Mo Salah. We've done that. And we needed to sign a midfielder because we let Longstaff go to be there. And we've signed a really good midfielder, young midfielder from a rival in Jacob Ramsey. The only thing we haven't been able to do in the transfer window is bring in another centre-forward to replace Callum Wilson. Because at the moment, we don't need 2. We've got Alexander Isak. We need another one. We need somebody to replace Wilson. And I still think we'll do that. We may well still get Wissa, although I believe he probably will be in the squad today for Brentford. That doesn't mean that he won't be available for transfer between now and the 1st of September. I think they are looking at the Larkin at Wolves. Again, our business all seems to be getting done out in the public, but I think they will be looking at other options. I wouldn't be surprised, I wouldn't be surprised to see Newcastle make a late move for Watkins. And I think Villa will have to sell because Villa are in the same position we were last season.
Yes, sir.
No Champions League. We had to sell Elliot Anderson, who is coming on leaps and bounds at Forest Park, and Minty, and I think that's where we're at. So where we'll be by the 5th of September, we've still got another show to do before the transfer window.
Yep.
I don't think Isak gets the move. I think Isak's stuck at Newcastle, and I think he either has to knuckle down and play. Because I don't think Liverpool will come back in with another offer, or if I do, I don't think it'll be the offer that we'll want. But if we do get the offer, it puts Newcastle in a hell of a position. If Newcastle get £150 million for Alexander Isak, you know what? That puts us in a really strong position going into January and going into next season. So I think, generally speaking, if we're in a no-lose situation, it could affect this season, but eventually we do get rid of them. We're in a great position for PSR.
Teddy, obviously, before we talk about Newcastle versus Liverpool, this Alexander Isak stuff has been absolutely breaking all of the news. I mean, we have it down here in Australia on the morning news talking about the saga. It's obviously been played out in the media much more prevalent than any other transfer I remember in a couple of years gone by. Obviously, we saw the battle of Newcastle trying to get a striker. They went in for Ateki. He went to Liverpool. They went for Shesko. He went to Man United. They went in for João Pedro. He went to Chelsea. So it's not like Newcastle haven't been sitting by. But how surprised have you been about Alexander Isak's intentions? I mean, Newcastle have qualified for Champions League. They won the cup first time last season. They finished in the top half, but in amongst that top six, and yet he still wants to walk out of Newcastle's doors for Liverpool.
I'm surprised at the timing of it, because obviously Newcastle getting Champions League football, and essentially, I mean that is the greatest shop window for any player to be in. It's the be all and end all. It's the biggest club competition in the world. Forget that Club World Cup nonsense. The 5-minute warning for Ted to go back to work, right?
Yeah, they put it in his contract, unlike Isak.
By the way, if anyone's watching from work, I am in the Zen room. I'm not actually sat at my desk, so if anyone's getting into a bit of a shit fit over that, don't worry about it. I'm aware I can have my mobile phone, you little grasses. Listen, if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd be absolutely raging about this. We've had it to a lesser degree. We had a player called Didier Ndong who refused to come back to training when we got relegated to the Championship. The owners, it was probably one of the only good things that Stuart Donald did. He actually sacked the player. You can't do that with Alexander Isak. He's a 140, 150 million pound player. As Steve's rightly said, he's certainly top tier European striker level, possibly even world level as well. I just don't see how this plays out. And I asked the question to Steve and the three amigos last night: is how do you feel about potentially getting Wissa, who's doing the same thing to
Brentford. Yeah,
Brentford. Thank you.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing to Brentford as what Isak's doing there. Don't get me wrong, Wissa's not the same level as what Isak is, but
he scored 19 goals, and actually, if you take off Isak's penalties, Isak only scored 19 goals last season. So he's actually on a level, really.
Longevity with Isak, though, is Wissa's like 29, something like that. The longevity that you're going to get with Isak, and possibly even improve his game. But listen, I mean, how dare any footballer kind of refuse to play? They're in such a privileged position. And just giving it the old, kissing the badge and all that sort of thing 1 minute, then I'm never going to play for you again. It's just absolute skip rat loyalty. I don't like that at all. And I don't care which team it is. No set of supporters should be, almost just disregarded by the people who go and pay their money to go and watch and in the Northeast, we worship our footballers to absolutely incredible levels. And it's just the biggest slap in the face, not just in Newcastle United, but football supporters in general. The level of arrogance from that is just, there's no place for it. But unfortunately, and as Steve alluded to there, it's not just agents. You get these advisors who are just in it for the coin. They're absolutely just in it for the coin. And unfortunately, I just don't see how this is going to play out. It's an odd one, because if Newcastle keep a hold of him, you've got a player that essentially doesn't want to be there. Is that more harmful? Do you kind of cut your losses? I don't know. It's a real tough one. It's going to be a very, very...
It's messy. It is messy, isn't it? And I think there's a lot to play out with it. Obviously, we will see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I mean, we have still got a week or two left of this transfer window, and where Isak will finish up. I mean, I think that, there's a lot more to play out in that. We've got another podcast coming up. Yeah, on loan to Borough, I've heard. Before we go, we've got to wrap up quickly because Ted did put in his contract, unlike Isak, that we have to finish up very quickly today because he is at work. So we have to get on to some score predictions. We will be back next week. Three's a Crowd is back. So we will be back next week where we can talk about this in longer depth. We will obviously review everything that's happening, and we'll have a transfer window special show as well. And we thank you all for joining us. Thank you across all of the socials for being back for Three's a Crowd for another season 25-26. As you can see, there's a lot to cover now in the Northeast. Before we go, let's get some quick score predictions for the games coming up. We'll start with Middlesbrough against Norwich City away. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Teddy boy for Middlesbrough.
I'm going to go slightly less than that. I'm going to go 2-1 win for Borough.
2-1 win. And Stevie?
1-1.
1-1, he says. Now on to Sunderland away to Burnley. Burnley, obviously the defensive powerhouses of the championship last season. They've sold every single player of that defensive lineup, by the way, and they've gotten Kyle Walker. Well done, Burnley. Obviously, Sunderland on the high. Ted, I don't see much happening here, mate. I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw. I just think it's going to be edgy. Both, as I said, they're both promoted. I think you're going to play out in a 0-0 draw.
Ones each, I think. I think a draw I'll take all day long.
Draw all day long. And Stevie?
You're going to see a theme here. It's a 1-1 draw for me as well. Martin DeBrav gets to play well, of course. But yeah, 1-1.
Now, obviously, the one that's on everyone's lips at the moment, Newcastle taking on Liverpool on Monday. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic picture because it's two powerhouses now. It's two teams that have been arch rivals. We've seen the Ateki scandal as well, where Newcastle went for him, then Liverpool came in, and the whole Isak thing. There's a lot more riding on this than just the football, but it's going to be over 90 minutes of football. I'm not sure how I see this one playing out. I'm going to sit on the fence for this one. I'm going to say 2-2. I just think there's going to be a lot in it for Newcastle players who are angry at Isak, and there is some divide there and what Liverpool have done. And obviously Liverpool are going to want to get one over their arch nemesis now in Newcastle. Teddy boy, I'm going to say 2-2.
I'm just going to beat Liverpool like a ginger stepson. That's quality. That's probably got me, that. Listen, I can see there's been an absolute rip snorter. I can see a lot of goals in this one. I'm actually going to go for a very high score draw. I'm going to go for a 3-3.
33-1. 33-1. That that was the result.
Is it?
I think it was.
I'll stick a euro on it.
It might be worth it.
I'm going to go for a draw as well. I think it's a 1-1 draw. I think Anthony Gordon will get the goal for Newcastle, but I think a 1-1 draw. I've gone three 1-1 draws for all three North East teams.
Well, there you go. There's your predictions. I hope you have a fantastic day out. If you are travelling, make sure to stay safe. Good luck to Borough fans, Sunderland fans, Newcastle fans. It's a massive weekend. Three's the Crowd is back, so make sure you like and consider subscribing as well. We'll be back next week where we'll talk more in depth about this Alexander Isak situation as it plays out. We'll also cover all of the transfers as they roll in and how Newcastle, Sunderland and Middlesbrough season looks ahead. Thank you for joining us as always. It's bye for now. Back next week.
Three's the Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.